Hey everybody, it's Amy with So Let's Be Quilty and So Let's Make a Bag. So we're talking about some tips and tricks for the May bag box, which is called Organize Me. One of your patterns is called the Clearly Trixie pouch. And I'm going to reach over you, smile at you. Okay, here is what it looks like. Okay, so what we're going to do is in your pouch that you received, you got a piece of double-sided basil, so that means it's fusible on both sides. And then you got your pattern. And so what I recommend is that you take your pattern and you make 4 copies of the little pattern that comes with your kit. And you make it into a full pattern piece. You can trace each one. But I found on my first one that they kind of went a bit askew, and I thought I got a more accurate piece if I took the time to make a couple of copies and tape them together and make one pattern. So that's my first tip. So the second tip is, you'll see in her video that she uses soft and stable and then double-sided fusible, like a seam. So I took the middleman out of that, and I'm using the basil double-sided fusible. So you're going to be able to fuse your fabric onto the front and onto the back. So what we're going to do is I'm going to cut my pieces and fuse it and show you what it looks like before I quilt it. All right, we'll see you in a minute. Okay, so here is our main piece for our Clearly Trixie pouch. And I have fused the front part and the lining to either side of my fusible foam. And I'm going to mark my registration lines to do a bit of quilting. So I just did straight lines on mine. You can do anything you want, be creative, have fun. I'm going to use the pencil that you got in your kits, and it is a chalk pencil, so it doesn't make a really dark line. So that's okay for me because I just want it to go away once I do my first registration mark. You can also use your Frixion pen, or you can use a air erasable pen. Actually, let me grab mine. I'll show you what it looks like. So this air erasable pen is by Soline, and basically it hangs out for about an hour and then it just disappears on its own. If you're concerned about this air erasable, try it on a little corner and leave it there, and then come back in that hour and then and make sure that you're comfortable with it before you use it. So what I do is I mark right down the center. So this ended up being 8 inches. So I'm going to use the marks on my cutting mat, and I'm going to just make one line down the center. So that line will disappear in about an hour. And what I'm doing is I'm just using the width of my foot, and I am going to do the center line, and then I'm just going to use the width of my foot to do straight lines all the way down on either side. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. All right, so we have our Clearly Trixie pouch, and we have our main piece quilted, and we're going to take our pattern piece, and now we're going to draw this pattern piece onto our finished and quilted piece, and that's what will that's why I had you put these 4 pieces together, is because, see, now I can see exactly where it is. I can kind of line it up where I like it, and then you can either pin this or leave it like this, and then you're going to mark your pouch. So I will go and grab a couple of pins, and I'm going to mark this out. Okay, so now we have our Clearly Trixie pouch. We have it, we have all of our lines quilted onto our piece. And then this is the reason why I had you print out all 4 pieces, because once I have it all taped together, I can really adjust it and put it on there so it looks nice. So I pin mine on, and now I'm just going to use a pen and draw around it. Hello, I'll be right with you. All right, everyone. Okay, so I traced around my pattern piece, and then you'll see that there are these center lines that I kind of marked on either side, because we are eventually going to cut this in half. So what I do is I draw a line, and it happens to be right with one of my sewing lines, but that's okay. So I'm going to draw this line, and then I'm going to, once I cut all this out, I'm going to cut that right in half. So everything else is pretty much like the directions. So those were my basic tips and tricks for this one, and the things I might have done slightly differently from the pattern maker, but that's just because I found that using the Basel was easier than putting a bunch of things on the Soft and Stable. So I think I just have one more little dip. So you have the washi tape that you got in your kits, and you're going to be using that to mark your 1/2 inch line. All of that is in her videos. So I would love to see your finished pieces, so please put them on the Facebook page, or send me a text or a email with pictures. So I love to see what you've made and how you're doing. So if you have any questions, please feel free to either call the shop or send me an email or send me a message on Facebook. So good luck.